Today's episode of the Tourpreneur podcast is kindly sponsored by Checkfront, the booking platform trusted by over 5,000 tour and activity operators around the world. This month, Checkfront is offering an exclusive 90-day free trial for tourpreneurs. Find out more at checkfront.com/tourpreneur.
Welcome to the Tourpreneur podcast. Travel industry veteran Shane Whaley will take you on a journey with fellow tourpreneurs, sharing their tips, ideas, insights, and success stories to inspire you to make your tour business the best it can be. And now, here is your host, Shane Whaley.
And welcome to day 25 of the 30-day Tour Operator Challenge. We're joined today by Ryan from Checkfront. How are you, Ryan?
Thanks for having me on.
No problem. I'm excited to hear about day 25 challenge.
Yeah, today is going to be a really fun one. Today's is kind of designed to help tour operators learn a little bit more about booking experiences in general, but particularly from other businesses, and hopefully get some inspiration for things to bring back to their own business. So today's challenge is to go as an undercover guest.
So how are you proposing we do that?
So there's lots of different ways to do that, but kind of the premise is we all kind of get stuck in old habits, and sometimes seeing how someone else operates can give us a fresh perspective on how to improve or continue doing things that we're already doing well. So for listeners that are participating in the challenge, they can sign up for a tour at either a nearby town if you're able to do that, or just within your town, but preferably maybe in a sector or a industry or a section like an operator that you're not completely familiar with.
And what kind of things are we looking for when we would be an undercover guest, a secret shopper?
Yeah, there's lots of different learnings that people can gather from this type of experience. By joining a different type of sector or different type of business that you're not as familiar with, you may notice a lot of different things. There's kind of three main areas that listeners will want to be looking at: things that are happening before the tour, things that are happening obviously during the tour, and then perhaps things that are happening after the tour. So some examples of things that before a tour would be, is the operator sending out notifications? Are you receiving any notifications? And what do they say? What type of details do they include? Are there any upsells in the booking flow, or do the upsells happen perhaps on site for any merchandise that way? The check-in process obviously is an important one, crucial one to kind of look at, see how fast that process is, or if it's done online, or how they communicate with you in general for check-in.
Yeah.
And any waivers is another neat one. So not all booking systems have waivers that are built in, and some operators are using paper waivers. And just kind of see if you're one of those operators that is using paper waivers and the business you go to uses digital. Look at that experience from the lens of a customer and see what that's like. And things might happen during the tour as well. So if the guide says something as part of the tour, just kind of take note of what they're saying and how they kind of position the tour, things that they say maybe about the town if you're visiting in the same town, and what do they do to make the experience better.
Yeah, I like that. I also would suggest that something I'm really terrible for, but in a good way, is I always ask fellow guests, how did you find out about this tour? And where did you book it? And, what do you like about it? I'm always doing my market research. As part of a conversation, I've got a survey form out and a clipboard, right? But I'm just talking to them. But I'm always curious to find out from the other guests who are not in the bubble like we are. Because sometimes there's things we miss because we work in the industry, whereas someone who only does 2 tours a year will tell you something like, oh gosh, I never would have thought of that. Yeah,
that's actually a really good point. There's lots of learnings that you can gather from the guests that you're attending the activity with, Yeah. Exactly like you said, how they heard about it or where they booked. Did they call in or did they book online? All those things. And another kind of quick note was after the tour too. So we've actually talked about a lot of things that can happen after the tour as far as notifications and reviews, and see if the other operators are doing that. Also take note of their online presence, I guess, is an important one to touch on. Yes. What are they doing for their online presence? Do they have a Google page? Are they on perhaps reserved with Google, and what's that experience like? So kind of a holistic look as a customer, or as a guest rather, and what the booking experience is like.
Definitely. Brilliant. Well, there's a lot of good information for us there. And at the time of recording, if you are in an area where tours are closed and there's a lockdown in place, then maybe just go online and say, okay, well, if I could travel today, if I could book a tour locally, which one would it be? And take a look what's out there. And hopefully you can go on that when it is safe to do so.
Absolutely.
Ryan, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Tourpreneur podcast. Be sure to visit tourpreneur.com to join the conversation and access the show notes, including links to the resources mentioned on today's episode. This is Tourpreneur.